All right, so this is module 8. This will be the last two chapters that we cover. And module 7 and 8 make up exam 4, which is our final exam. So this is the last of the course. It'll be chapter 17 and 18. So as we're going through this, obviously, as I've said in all the other videos, if you need to pause it to have more time to read, by all means do that. And so in this one, you go short. I just want you to understand that being short, well, it says here even that you sold it. So yeah, so it goes up, you lose money. So how much do you lose with the multiplier of 50? That's the change in the contract price, 24.24 to 25.10. In this one, I did not include this figure. It was just really cluttered. I'm not sure why they wanted you to have to search through the E-mini contract, but yeah, so. So in the last module was about options, and we had talked about options as a risk management tool. What you're seeing here with the futures is just another way to use a derivative to offset, risks that you have. And this is obviously doing it around indices, but we have futures for commodities as well. So if you needed corn or wheat or something like that, you can or not so much pre-purchase, but you can sign the contract and have the agreed upon price. The difference between futures and options, by the way, is futures we have to settle every day. So options, it would be in the money or out of the money, but until exercise, it really doesn't matter. But with futures, there is no option. We are going to exercise this contract. I am delivering corn, and if you don't want it, then you need to find somebody else to buy the corn, because you've got this contract. And so it's a different way of managing risk, but it's still very effective. And so these are S&P 500 futures, but understand that futures can also include frozen concentrated orange juice. So this is about how much to sell given that the duration of these bonds are different. This one it includes this dividend yield, which shows up there as well. Dividend also, if you remember, showed up in like the Black-Scholes model. It's just normally our dividend was zero. We assumed it to be zero to make that math a bit easier. Right. And you'll get very familiar with this relationship, right? Of um the future price to the spot price, you know. And arbitrage opportunities don't pop up too often. In this particular case, it did. And what's important is to understand exactly what we're doing, because you don't want to go the wrong way and then you're helping someone else arbitrage instead. All right, this is the last one for chapter 17. So chapter 18, we're going to go to, it's a little bit longer, but that will actually be our last chapter. So they're giving us rates of return over 5 years for 2 different stocks. And so they want the arithmetic and the geometric average returns. So arithmetic is where you add it up and divide by the number. Geometric is where it would be 1 plus the rate of return for each of those multiplied together, and then you take the nth root. So arithmetic is adding, and then the geometric is multiplying. So again, add them up and divide for arithmetic, add 1 plus that to each of those and multiply them together, and then take the root of it. And then you'll subtract 1. It'd be 1 plus that would equal this. So I know the why do you add the 1? It's because this is a growth rate, right? So it would be, you would, after 1 year, you'd have $1.23 for every dollar you started with. I'm sorry, with some of these, I know it looks a little strange how they're placed on the page, as just because I was trying to not cover up things, even though this only says round. And in some, you'll see in a couple of slides later, I do end up covering those. But I was just trying to make it so that you could see what all I was doing with this. Okay, so this one is a little more complex. I have another slide that shows the solution set, but feel free, of course, to go back and forth, just see what they're doing here, you know, what they're giving you, and then on the next slide, you know, so they're calculating those, right, using what was given in the previous one. This one also has a second slide that's going to have the solution A, B, and C. It's just a little more complex. And then Probably not surprising, but I'm going to use the next slide to show the solution set. And whenever you're going over these, if you do have any questions, please email me, and we can talk about kind of what you're missing. With the way these are laid out, as you can probably guess, sometimes they are easier to do in Excel. And in fact, there's I believe at least one question where they specifically tell you to do it in Excel. Well, actually, I think it's the next question. Yeah, so they actually tell you the function to use, XIRR. So you'll type in equals XIRR parenthesis, and then you'll be able to put in what those values are. Notice these are all negative except for June and then August, right? So it's like you're paying money and then you're gaining. Okay. When they're talking about alpha, right, this is how much you're overperforming, right? Or if it's negative, then you're under performing a bit. So that's what that is. And then if you could invest only in T-bills in one of those portfolios, which one do you pick? If that's your only investment, then we're going to use Sharpe, and then A is preferred. Obviously with this problem and the next one too, there's a lot of verbiage, but if you see what we're trying to do, there's this large cap growth, mid cap growth, small cap growth. And so we know what those were, right? And then we have what our return was, and then we have what the benchmark return was, right? And so that's, you know, if we're overperforming like we are in large and small cap, they're positive. We're underperforming, so it's negative in the mid cap. Okay, so we're going to use these numbers, but the calculations will be on the next slide. Right. And so we're actually almost done. Last couple of questions. So I know this is a lot of verbiage just to ask you know this word question, but it's important to understand everything that's going on here, because we have three different currencies, right, that we're dealing with, right? So we have Dutch stocks, and no, just the two, I guess, then the Dutch and then the British. And so in the Dutch, they're going to be using the euro, the British use pounds. And then both of these, we can talk about what they've done relative to the US dollar. So the euro appreciated 6%, the pound depreciated 2%. So it's not just the return on the stocks, but also the currency that those stocks are in. So that's, there's just a lot going on there. And this is the last question. And then, as you see here, calculating the Sharpe ratios, we've done those in some previous problems. The M2 measure, right? And so here's the formula for that. Let's see, the 10-year measure, and then Jensen. So yeah, so that will be it for module 8. And module 7 and 8 is exam 4, which is our final exam. So this will complete your course. It's been wonderful, and I hope you have a great deal of success on that final exam.